Hello, guys. Happy weekend. Thanks for joining me. My name's Kayla, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from Tasmania in Australia. So I come live every week and share, well, usually every week, and share a new project and how I've created it. And I share the PDF afterwards on my website. So I have a whole PDF library with free PDFs on my website, which you can check out anytime. You'll find it at the website linked here somewhere. You'll find a section on the right hand side saying free PDF library, and you can find all the ones that I have done previously. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my lighting a little bit. So usually I'm live, but today I'm pre-recorded because I have a busy weekend. So I'll probably be live in the comments so you can still chat and ask questions, and I'll be down there somewhere. I just have all sorts of things going on from the Stamping Lounge monthly class. I have my son's birthday party, which is a belated birthday party, but never mind. And then I have the online stamping retreat. Plus, I also have a Facebook Live, which is free to watch. It's for all the public. You can come and follow. I've linked it down here below. If you follow the Stamping Lounge page, we're going to have a live tomorrow sharing some fun projects made with the same suite that I'm using tonight. And you can come and check out what we're doing over there. So speaking of the Stamping Lounge and this fun suite that I'm using today, the next weekend we're having a retreat. So you can see the little bit of information about it here. You can sign up. Kit orders are closed, and the kits, I know people have already been receiving them and love them, but you can still sign up no matter where you are in the world for $54.95 Australian dollars, so whatever that converts to in your currency. And we have already got the prep lists up there and some sneak peeks. We'll be making 6 fun folds and 3 card projects, but on top of that, we also have loads of alternative projects to show you beyond the Storybook Moments suite. So we've taken the projects and gone beyond the suite as well. So you can still sign up. The sign-ups will probably close midnight on the 22nd of February. And yeah, come and join us. We would love to share what we've been making with this suite. We love doing our virtual retreats. The other thing we are doing is this is today, so by the time you watch this we would have already had it, but you can get in on the terrific Toadstool class. We do a monthly class at the Stamping Lounge, and that's all included in a membership. This month we are doing the terrific Toadstool, or we've done it. So you can join a membership and you can try it out for a month and see if it's for you. You don't have to stay. But if you try it out, you'll get access to this class plus all the other classes that we've done previously. And who knows, you might like it and you might want to stay. We'd love you to. So that is on, and you can join up for a membership at the website linked down there. Otherwise, you can find it at thestampinglounge.com, and you can see how you can join and become a member. And that's open to anyone in the world. We do use metric and imperial, so we've converted it to suit all people. Yeah, I think that's about it. The only other thing I'll mention is this is my new February host code, because I'm pretty sure this is the first time I'm going live this month, because or maybe I did the first, I'm not sure, but I had a busy weekend last weekend as well, so it's been rather busy, but that's my host code. So all the products I'm showing and the projects I create with are available to purchase through me. You can find all of that on the website, and when you use this host code for February, which this may actually change in the near future, but for now, when you use this host code, you can get a free tutorial, a free gift, and a handmade card from me. So I love to treat those that support my business, and all of you that actually follow, like, share, subscribe, all of you mean the world to me. So the free tutorial that you get when shopping with me is this one. So for February, we have featured the Wildflower Birthday Suite, and you'll get that for free with an order. You can also purchase this. If you can't order through me because you live in a different country, you can actually purchase this tutorial, and you'll find that on my website as well. It'll come up on the homepage with the tutorials that I have available. So I think that was pretty much it. I might share the others as I go along because there's a few other things to share, but let's jump in to the project that I'm doing today. So this is a bit of a fun card. I saw it and I can't remember the lady's name because it was a French name, so I'm not 100% sure of her name, but I spent some time yesterday trying to convert this because part of doing my tutorials and sharing, I actually really love to provide both metric and imperial measurements. So I converted it, and this one's, you'll see, it's complete prototype here because I wanted to convert the measurements and check that they were right, but I haven't decorated this yet, so I'll share that in a minute. But this one here is the one I'll be making with you, which is the Storybook Moments Suite. And all I have done, and this was a bit different because the one I saw wasn't tied up with a bow, it's just that it's quite a chunky card, so I quite liked the fact that you could have a enclosure with the ribbon, plus this ribbon's super cute, look at it. So I kept the front relatively simple because when you open this card up, that's where the magic happens. So when you open, you get this really cool opening effect. How cool is that? You've got the decorated triangles on the side, and yeah, it opens up to reveal this. Now I kept a square for writing because those that know me will know that I love words, I love writing. I created the layer on the back as well because I wanted to encapsulate that ribbon underneath there, and I quite like the weight it adds to the card. You can feel that this is really special. So that was the one I made with the metric measurements, and then just to check I had the measurements right for the imperial, I made one using the mixed floral suite. So this one has some beautiful colours. So you can see here you can use it with any of your pattern papers. It's a great way to feature pattern paper. With this one I didn't leave a square for writing, but you could add something in here, or you could add a little layer on top, or you could even just have the back panel as white to have your writing on the back. That's completely up to you. This ribbon is really cool as well. It would be great to colour with Stampin' Blends, but I quite liked leaving it white. So what I might do, because I'm pre-recording this, is I might see, fingers crossed, if I can decorate this and share this one over the weekend as well, so I can show you what I do with that one. So I've got everything pre-cut for this card, which I would have shared before ahead of time, so that if you wanted to craft along you could, but I've tried to make it as easy as I can as far as measurements. So I'm going to pull out all the bits and pieces that we need. I've got post-it notes because there's quite a few measurements here, but if you're new to my channel, first of all, welcome, but also I do share the PDF at the same time, which will have all these measurements written on there. So don't feel like you've got to write these down. It's more for my own reference, but yeah, it will all be on that PDF. So I'm going to use Lost Lagoon, and this is my card base. So essentially we're just doing a square card base. So for our metric it's 29, so it's a little bit shorter than an A4 piece by 14.5, and then you're going to score it in half. And for imperial I've gone 5.5 by 11, so then you're going to score in half at 5.5. So the reason we cut it down shorter from the A4 piece is because 29.7 is the size of an A4 piece of cardstock, and that's just not going to square off nicely, so we're just going to cut it down just a tiny bit. So that's our piece for our card base. Now we've also got a couple of pieces here for our layers, but I'm not going to do those just yet. I'm going to leave those to the side for a moment because we want to pop the ribbon over the top, and I'll do that in just a bit. But we're going to start actually with the mechanism because you might wonder why I'm not going to add the paper first. So what I mean is the paper to the sides. It's actually because we need to stick the mechanism to the card, and it's nice to cover that little bit of mechanism that folds under. So it's going to look really wonky donkey, but we're going to put the paper in underneath. It gives you a nicer finish. So the piece that you'll need for your mechanism, I'll just pop that to the side for a moment, is 14 by 18 centimeters, or 6.25 by 5.25. So I'm going to score that with you. So I cut it ready, but I thought I'll score it with you so I can, hopefully it's a bit easier to understand. So we want to take it on the long edge. So this is the 18 centimeter edge, or 6.25. And we're going to do a couple of scores together. So for, obviously I'm using the metric one, but I'll try and quote the imperial as I go. So for the metric measurements, I'm going to score this at 2 centimeters. Otherwise, if you're doing imperial, you want to score at 1 inch. So I'm going to score that at 2 centimeters. Now, I do this a bit wonky because I actually prefer to hold on to more cardstock. Otherwise, you could line it up at 2 centimeters there. It's just harder to have something to hold on to this side. So that's 2 centimeters, and I've flipped it around, and I'm going to score at 9 centimeters, which will be 3 1/8 if you're using imperial. And then I want to score at 16, which I might have to fold out the arm here. So 16. I hope that's right. Actually, no, it is 16, but the other thing you can do is just line it up at 2 on this side if it's a bit easier, because 16 is actually on the edge here. It can be really painful to actually get perfect. So you can actually just line it up at 2 centimeters. Okay, otherwise that will be 5 1/4 for imperial. So then you should have a piece that looks like this. Now what we want to do is put some lines to create a couple of diagonal score lines. So what I'm going to do is line up this top score mark here down with the bottom score mark on the right hand side. So top left and bottom right. You want to line them up in that track and just give it a score. So you'll have a line that looks like that. Now we're going to pop it back in and go bottom left and top right. So we're creating an X. Pop that in and give that a score. So you should have a piece that looks like this. So that's the piece that we're going to use. Now what we want to do is bring in our bone folder. So with fun folds, it's really important to make sure that your score lines are nicely burnished because it helps with the fold. So I'm just going to fold all of those score lines over and give them a nice crease. Okay. Now what we want to do is bring in this piece. We're actually going to, it's easiest to grab your fingers. So you want to start pushing those triangles down and pinching them in, okay? Then what you should do is it should form a triangle like this. Now what we're going to do is just give those folds an extra crease. So then you should have something that's going to work as a mechanism like this. Now what we want to do is adhere it to the inside of our card base. So we're going to bring the card base in and we want to add some adhesive. I prefer to use liquid glue, but that's completely up to you. I'm just going to bring in my glue press. And then I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue to my sides here. This is the way I find it easiest, but you may prefer a different way. I'm quite a messy crafter, to be honest. So I've got my glue on either of those tabs. Now what I'm going to do is just grab a little bit of this and I want to line that center crease up with the center crease on the card. So the center score line, I want those sitting together. And there will be a little bit of room, so I'll show you. There will be a little bit of room just here, so make sure it's even top and bottom, okay? And give that a nice press. Now what you can do then is give it a second, you can even use your bone folder to make sure it's nicely pressed down, that glue is nice. Then what you should get is this should fold closed like this. Now what I would suggest is just leaving that for a moment to make sure it's nicely adhered. You can grab a clear block if you like to sit on top to make that a bit heavier so that presses down. Now what we might do is do this bit while we're waiting. I'm just going to remove my post-it notes. All we're going to do with these two, so this is the two layers that are going to go front and back. So the cardstock pieces are 14.3 by 14.3 or 5 3/8 by 5 3/8. Now I think I've put the post-it note for the other one to the side, but it's 14.1 by 14.1 or 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. Now what we're going to do is just adhere those two together. Nothing fancy, they've just got to be adhered to their layers. So this Lost Lagoon side is what inspired the card base, but I actually really wanted to do this side because it feels like a storybook. I think we can all see Peter Rabbit with this collection, but I really wanted it to look like a storybook cover. So I'm just going to line those up and stick them down. add this one. Okay, now let's take that block off our card. Tombow glue is pretty reasonably quick to dry. What we're going to do now is add in our panels of designer series paper. So I've pre-cut mine and I'm going to show you. I've got 2 panels which are going to go on these side pieces here, and you'll see here they're 14.1 by 6.9 or 2 3/4 by 5 3/8. So let's stick those ones down to the card. Look at this beautiful side here. It feels wrong to cover up patterns like this, but that's why I've actually got 2 packs of this pattern paper. It's worth it. Okay, so I'll stick that one there, and then I'm going to do the same on the left hand side. Okay, I've got a very squeaky chair tonight. Then we've got our middle panels. So these are 6.6 by... I've got to stop because can you hear Thor? He's seriously dreaming. It sounds like he's crying. So for those that don't know, Thor is my golden retriever. I've got 2, but Thor doesn't like to be out there when I'm filming. He likes to sit at my feet. So now we're getting a doggy dream underneath the table. Yes, so 6.6 by 14.1 or 2 3/8 by 5 3/8. So that's the size for these middle panels. Now, they literally have to stick underneath. Now you might be wondering why you don't do that first. It's because it's very picky, but it covers up that little tab there. So it's up to you. If you don't care about that and want to have that sitting on top, you can. It's just that otherwise it's gonna be more obvious that there's a tab there, whereas this will sit over the top. So all I'm going to do is slide that down, and this is why I like to use liquid glue as well, because if you get it slightly wonky, you've got time to move it. So that's all I've done, is slide it over the top of that tab. Now I'm going to repeat that with this one. So let's slide that in over the top of that tab and line it up. Okay, nice. Then we've got our paper on the inside. Now let's do our panels here. So what you need is 4 pieces of cardstock. I've used the same color as the card base. These are 7 by 7 or 2 5/8 by 2 5/8. Now it's easiest, I think, to add the glue directly to the mechanism. So you want to leave these 2 big triangles. They don't have glue on them. So we're just going to add a bit of glue to this small triangle and go one at a time. So I'm going to pull in my piece of Lost Lagoon and stick that down square on that triangle. Now let's work up on this top one, because I just want to say it's best to stick them and not have them overlapping. So you want to make sure that you've got a gap. So I don't want those squares to be overlapping each other, if that makes sense. So when they fold, you won't be able to see them at the top of the card or the bottom, but you want to make sure that they're not overlapping, because they'll catch. So let's work on the left hand side. Do the same thing. And then this top corner here. Oopsie. Then we should have 4 nicely lined up squares, and that's where we start. That's what the mechanism really done. So you saw how super easy that was. Now to decorate them, I've got a couple of squares of designer series paper. Now I've only got 3 because I'm going to do my white square down here again. Otherwise you could do 4, but I've got 3 and they're 6 by 6 centimeters square or 2.5 square. So let's stick those down. So I'm just going to leave this bottom right square and not do anything on there. Now I will share just while I remember. I didn't necessarily do it with this one, but it can look good if you've got a really obvious pattern that you want to match up. So I'm just going to quickly bring in the other card. So for this one, these squares, I don't know if you can tell, but they're actually matching. So they're cut. What I did to do that is, so the squares in Imperial are 2.5 by 2.5. So I cut it to 5 by 5, then cut in half at 2.5, and again in half at 2.5. And that gave me squares that come from the same section of paper, if that makes sense. So off the top of my head, it's 6 by 6.6. So you would need 13.1, I think. That might be incorrect. And then cut it in half. It gets a bit wonky if you're going to do measurements like that, because cutting 13.1 is quite tricky. But you can do that if you want. Or you could cut 6.6 centimeters of cardstock and then line it up again next to it and cut 6 by 6, if that makes sense. And then do the same. So you're cutting it from the same piece. If you're not that worried about stuff like that, don't worry about it. I didn't do it on this one. Okay, so I'll do that the last bit in white in a second. I'm going to work on doing this bit here. So for that bit, I've cut a piece of DSP 9 by 9 centimeters or 3.5 by 3.5. And all we're going to do with this piece is cut it in half diagonally. So we're going to pop it in the trimmer, line that top left corner and bottom right in our track. Now, I find it easiest when cutting something like this where you're going to go on the edge. If you go and put the blade straight up, you can get a little bit of bunching at the bottom. It's actually better to lift your track and start your cut in the middle. Then you won't get that problem. So you can go forward and back, and that will give you a nice sharp cut. Okay, so now you could do this before you're stuck on the squares, and I probably would, but I forgot. So you want to stick it in there. So all we need to do is add a little bit of glue. Oh, that side's really cute too. Just going to add a little bit of glue and drop that in onto that triangle. You don't even have to decorate this bit if you don't want to. I just think it looks cute. And one thing I love about fun folds is using designer series paper, because they're really great for doing that. Now I just got a little bit of glue stuck in there, but I might just dab, because I don't want it to stick the card together. So I'm just going to dab a little bit of my embossing buddy, which helps to remove some of that adhesive. Now I want to do the same thing. I want to add a bit of glue to this side. Bunch that up and just, I would suggest probably doing this before. Let's just pull that up. This is probably not a card you'd make for something like on-stage swaps, because there's a bit going on. I mean, it's not too complicated, but you know, it's got more folds and pieces to cut. Okay, so they are all of our essential pieces. Let's add our ribbon and our front covers on. I'm going to use the ribbon that coordinates with this week because it's just really cute. So this is the Petal Pink scalloped ribbon. So all I'm going to do is wrap it around my card flat. Okay, and then leave enough for the bow. So I tend to over-exaggerate how much I need usually, but you know, that's better than having it too short, I suppose. Look at this. I have almost used that entire roll. That's how much I love this ribbon. Okay, so now I'm going to center it on, and all I'm going to do, and this is my favorite way to do ribbon enclosure cards, is I'm going to grab some tear and tape, which I'm just trying to do one-handed, which is always fun. And I'm just going to tape that so it doesn't move. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the back. So make sure that's flat. And then I'm just going to tape it down. This is going to get covered with adhesive anyway from the back and front cover, but it's helpful to have that stay put while you do that. So I'm going to grab my front and back cover. I'm going to add my adhesive to these and stick this right over the top of that ribbon, and that's going to help to adhere and make sure it doesn't move as well. Okay, flip it over and we'll do the back. So we have seriously some cool fun folds to share at the retreat. I had a thought in my mind for something and I've managed to do it, and it was a lot of fun to make. So if you come and join, you can see the fun folds that we've made. There's 6 fun folds and 3 cards, and trust me, they're amazing. So if you didn't catch the start, this one is the Storybook Moments Retreat, and you can sign up at the moment. So the sign up link is here. If you go to that link, you'll be able to see the retreat, which is available to sign up for now. So you'll learn loads more with this week that we've shared. If you haven't heard of the Stamping Lounge, it's actually a learning website with all craft lessons and all sorts of things, and you can find it here. It's myself, Maheshwari Rajaguru, and Rochelle Laird-Smith, and you can learn more about a membership there. It's really, really fun. We've loved doing it, and it's been almost a year, getting up to a year now. Yeah, we love the lounge and we love making content for there. So we have a monthly membership as well as doing things like virtual retreats. I'm not sure why I'm tying that closed when I have to open it. Okay, so that's the basics done. So inside we're going to do a little bit of embellishment. So I'm going to bring in a piece of just grid paper because I want to take my white piece, which is the same size as your DS piece, a 6.6 or 2.5 by 2.5. And then I'm going to grab a blending brush and just some Lost Lagoon ink. I'm loving Lost Lagoon at the moment, and I'm very excited because next month we're heading off to Brisbane to go to the Stamping Up on stage event for demonstrators. And the thing I love about the on stage is not just seeing the people, but we also get to see the new ink colours. So I'm just going to spritz this piece with some Lost Lagoon ink from a Stamping Right marker, and then I'm going to add a little bit of stamping. Now there are sentiments in this set. So this is the stamp sets from the Storybook Moments suite. And there are some greetings, but as you can imagine, I've been doing lots of projects with this week for all the events that are coming up. So I've used those sentiments to death. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to allow myself to use something different. And I have bought in this online exclusive stamp set called Mixed Labels. And I really liked the sentiments in here as well. So I'm going to use that instead. And I'm going to bring in this one, which says, "You're pretty wonderful." So there's lots of people I could send that card to. So I'm just going to stamp it down in the bottom. Now, I did mention before that I love words, I love writing. So I've actually used 3 sentiments on this card. How crazy is that? But I love just saying things. So I don't shut up really. So I'm going to stick that down in that leftover square there. Now, while I'm spritzing, I might add, I love spritzing. I love adding a bit of ink. So I might add some just to the panels on my card. I'm not going to add too much. Okay, now let's just, while I've got the card open, do the decoration for the card. Then we'll do the front panel. So I've got a bit of Lost Lagoon. I'm going to bring it in because we need to do the tiniest bit of heat embossing. So the only stamping on this card is really the sentiments, which you'll see as I go on a little bit. So I'm just going to prep my cardstock, which I'm using Lost Lagoon, because I'm going to do a tiny bit of heat embossing. So I've got my tray here, and if you hadn't seen these trays, they're really handy. They're called the Embossing Editions Toolkit. They come with the tray, a little brush, which is floating around the joint somewhere. Oh, here it is. Which is great if you get a little bit too much powder, you can brush it off. And it also comes with one of these and a pair of reversible tweezers. So if you want something that's going to make your embossing a little bit easier and a little bit cleaner, then that is great to have. Now I'm going to use this label, which is from the Mixed Labels set, and then I'm going to emboss For a Great Friend. Now I'm not sure what way I had the label on my original card. I'm not actually 100%. I think it actually went this way. It doesn't matter too much. So I've got a little sentiment. Now, because these are not photopolymer, I kind of have to guess, but, you know, I guessed okay there. Now, I just want to quickly also heat emboss this other little sentiment. I'm just going to do that down the bottom. Then what this tray is handy for is I can use my embossing powder and I can tip it all over my piece and then just tap it into my tray there. And then if I get a little bit too much powder, so I can see a bit of excess here, I can just use that brush to brush that away. Okay, and then it has a little funnel, which this embossing powder I can actually just tip back into the jar. I often forget to talk about products like this because, you know, we love talking about the pretty things like the stamps and the embellishments, but tools like this are really great to invest in as well. So I do have two of them because I love to have one for my white and then my metallics so that they don't get contaminated. But I will say having one for your white and your blacks is probably more important because when you get black in your white embossing powder, it's not fun. So I'm just going to heat up my heat tool. I can put those stamps to the side because this is all the stamping. It's pretty hard for me to make a card without heat embossing something, honestly. I'm a lover of heat embossing. And they do say the first time you see something turn, like when the powder melts and it becomes metallic or 3D, that's you fallen in love with crafting. And it's so true. Do you know, the first time I ever heat embossed something, I was about 8 years old. So that was what, 26 years ago? Wow. If I did my maths correctly then. Okay, so then we've got our pretty gold in heat embossing. Okay, so let's grab our scissors. Now, the mixed label set does actually have matching dies which cut out this banner, but for the sake of not wanting to get my dies out in my machine, I'm going to actually fussy cut it because it's quite a simple shape to fussy cut. For those that know Emma Goddard, I feel like I'm channeling my inner Emma Goddard because she loves to fussy cut even if there are dies. It makes me laugh. Okay, so just want to gently go around my banner. It's a very easy shape to cut anyway. Obviously, you can cut it without stamping as well. You can just create non-stamped banners with the die. And if you're doing things in bulk, obviously it's really good to have that die as well. And the mixed labels bundle, that die set has some really cool other shapes in it. Okay, so there's my banner. And then I've got this little sentiment here, which is going to go on the inside. And I might pull in, it's not contraband, it's just that it's not available anymore. So I've got this little guillotine, which I think was a joining offer quite a few years ago now. But demonstrators could get one when the joining offer was on. So I'm just going to trim. I love it for doing small things like that. Now I realized I think I actually ripped mine. I don't know if I've left enough to rip it, but I did rip the edges. So I probably shouldn't have cut it so close. It just gave it a nice vintage look, like by ripping it and distressing it a little bit. So that's our stamping. Now I added in the sentiment onto the top one of this corner. So this one here, the banner, is going to be for the front of the cards. We don't need that yet, but I added this little, just a note to let you know you're on my mind, you're pretty wonderful. So I thought that was cute. Now all the bits and pieces that we need are actually taken from the included die cuts in the paper. So I don't know, I've got all of mine punched out, so I don't have the original sheet that it came in, but I do have, if I pull it out, I have all of mine in one of these little trays. So there's lots of different die cuts. These come as a 12 by 12 sheet, and you get two that are exactly the same. So I found it easiest just to punch them all out. But what I did different with this card is I've actually taken the shape, and you'll see here it's got quite a large border around it. I actually prefer the border to be a bit closer to the image. So what I did ahead of time, so I didn't have to sit here and fussy cut too much with you, is I've gone and cut my images a bit closer. I don't know why, I just, my eye prefers it to be a little bit closer. Now I realise I have had the Stamping Lounge banner up the whole time. I'm so sorry. So I'm going to pull in the images that I want. So I'm going to have this little cutie here, and then I'm going to have my little duck. Now I think I want one for the front of the card as well, so I'm going to change that one and have my little duck over here. And then I'm going to have, I had to change up some because I've been using these like crazy, so I'm running out. You know, I had 4 sheets because I had 2 packs, but you know, I've been loving them so much that I have been using them a lot. Now I'm going to leave those ones for the front of the card, so I'm going to stick all of these shapes down now. I thought last night when I was finishing cleaning up my space, I thought what would also look cool is to do these 4 squares and make them a stamped image that you colour in as well. So if you don't want to do the die cuts, I mean obviously this is a lot more quick and easy, but you could do some really fun colouring as well. So I'm just sticking all these down. I've got, on the original I had a little watering can, but this one I'm doing some little gum boots, which are a bit cute. And then these, I've heard people call these little things lots of different things. So they could be a radish, a turnip, a beetroot, whatever you want to go with. And this is going to be the ground for my duck. Let's stick your fingers now. Okay. Now, before we finish with that, I'm going to, my Winker Stella's getting it really clogged up, so I'm just going to give that a bit of a shake. You should really shake them anyway, but I noticed that the sparkle is always sitting in one spot. Okay. You don't have to add that much, that's just me. So that's the inside of the, actually no it's not. I added, so when I decorate the inside of my cards, I love embellishments, and I thought that these were cute because they're not very chunky, so they're pretty flat, so you can get away with adding them to the inside of your card without adding dimensions. So these are also, I believe, I haven't checked as I'm filming this video, but you can get these butterflies free with a $100 order, only until the end of this month, because we had a cool update on the 4th, I think it was, where there's now more to celebrate. So I'm just going to, I'm going to show you everything that's not what I want to show you. Here we go. So there's been more products added that you can get free. There's a whole catalogue full of products that you can get free, but now they've added some products that were already in our catalogue or on our online collection. So go and check out the celebration section in the store, because you'll see my store linked in the comments. But you can get more things for free. So these cool butterflies you can get for free with a $100 order only to the end of this month. And there's loads of other products. Now, don't forget that they're cumulative. So if you make a $300 order, you can choose 3 items for free. And if you use my host code, you can also get the free tutorial, a free gift, and a handmade card from me. So it's well worth shopping before celebration ends. You won't want to miss out. Okay, so let's close that up. That's the inside of our card done. Now I'm just going to tie this in a bow so that the card lays flat while I'm decorating it, just so it doesn't misbehave. Okay. Then I'm going to do my decoration to the front of my card. So I'm going to bring in my, actually I might just do it with my Stampin' Blends marker. I'm just going to spritz a little bit of Lost Lagoon ink onto my card front, and I might do some Winker Stella while I've got that out. This Winker Stella pen seems a lot thicker easier than the previous ones I've had, so it's harder to spritz with for some reason. Okay, I want to bring back in my grid paper because I've got this, which these are the frames that come with the Storybook Friends dies. So let's see, in Storybook Friends dies, you not only get the dies to cut out the bunnies, but you get these 3 adorable frames, and it cuts out the frame as well as the center of the frame, which is really cool. So I've actually cut out the frame in Pretty Peacock, but the center of it is white. And what I'm going to do is take a little bit of Lost Lagoon ink. My video seems a lot darker today, but we are having really weird weather. Like, it's either boiling hot, and we've got some pretty sad bushfires going on at the moment in Tassie, so we don't want the hot, we want some rain, which we had more thunder and a little bit of rain last night, but not quite enough. So my video seems a bit dark. Anyway, I'm going to spritz a little bit of Lost Lagoon over there again. And I'm going to stick the frame bit flat to my card. So I'm just going to grab some glue and stick that flat on my card, which I'm going to cover up some of those animals, but that's okay because we're going to add some more. And then I'm going to add the middle bit in with dimensionals. Now check this out, I've got black. Did you know that the Stampin' dimensionals come in black as well? I don't use them very often, I forget about them, but I was bad and didn't realise I don't have any dimensionals left in white. And it's one of those products I thought, oh, I've got loads of those, I don't need to order them. And yeah, I did. Okay, so I'm going to stick that back in. So what that does is the frame is sitting down lower than the middle of it. It gives a really cool dimensional look. Okay, so then let's do the rest of our decoration. So I have obviously got my little banner here, which I forgot I need my grid paper again because I'm going to add a little bit of blending. Now I'm just using what's left on the brush. I don't know if I might need a little bit more. So let's bring in some more. So this is like tone on tone blending, but it just makes the image look a bit more dimensional, I think, less flat. Okay, so I only added a little bit and not to the whole image. So that's going to be what goes over the top there. Now I have got a few images here, so I'm going to lay them out so you can see that I've cut out. So I've got a little bit of dirt grass, a bunny, a butterfly, some strawberries, and a little bit of greenery. So I'm going to start adhering those to my cards. So I want to take this greenery first, and I'm going to tuck that behind where I want my banner, because I'm going to stick my banner over the top of this piece. So I just want a little bit of glue. I'm going to stick my banner in, and then I'm going to adhere my banner over the top. Now I'm going to do this with dimensionals. I'm going to adhere 2 dimensionals in the middle, and then because this bit's going to go over the side that's already dimensional, I actually want to do a double stack. So I'm going to adhere one down and then adhere one over the top of it. I'm going to do that on this side as well. That just makes sure it's given it some stability. So I've got 2 high on either side and then just 1 in the middle. Now let's stick this down, and then it's not going to sag on either side now. And then I'm going to stick my little bunny to the card. Now I want to stick him flat to the label, but he's going to hang off there and probably needs a little bit of dimensional around his bottom. So I'm just going to check, that should be pretty good, but I want to add a little bit of glue just to the bunny so he can sit over the top of that tag there. Okay, then I want to go in and add my other bits and pieces. So I'm going to add my strawberries. I'm going to add them sort of coming around there, and then I want to tuck in this little piece of greenery that I've got, just for something a bit extra. And then I've got a little butterfly which I'm going to add into that space. Okay, so let's add a little bit of embellishment. So I've got these are actually what match with the suite. So these are called antique pearls, and they're a nice creamy colour, but I'm actually going to colour them. So I'm going to take my dark Lost Lagoon marker, and I've got the bullet tip end, but I'm just going around the pearl, and there's 3 sizes. We've got a large, a medium, and a small. So I'm going to do one of each, so you'll see the small up the top here. Now what I like to do is go around, add some of the alcohol marker, and then I'll come back down and add another layer to darken it up a little bit, because the alcohol in these markers does dry very quickly, so it'll dry and then you can add another layer of the marker. Okay, so let's adhere these to our cards. I'm going to add my biggest one in and tuck it just a little bit behind that label, and I like to do that if I'm working with something that's a little bit big, because it helps to make the size not look so intimidating. I'm just going to tuck a few in there, and then I'm going to bring my butterflies back and add in a couple of these to match with the inside of the card. So I'm going to add one of my big butterflies, and then one of my small ones can go over here. So that's it, that's the card. Now obviously you can trim up the ends on your ribbon if you want to trim them a little bit shorter, and you can tie the bow a bit nicer, but I'll do that after. Now these work out to be, well, the Imperial one is 5.5 by 5.5. Oops, that's not Imperial, this is, which is only just a little bit smaller than the metric version. So I would say I would probably use a 6x6 envelope, which you can hand make, or if you have square envelopes in your stash. I like to make them with my envelope punch board, or I also have a tutorial of how to make handmade envelopes over on the Stamping Lounge if you remember. Okay, so then obviously we open it up and we've got a pretty card. So I think this would look good with lots of different papers and sweets that we have. So you can see that I made this one if you didn't catch it earlier. And this one's using the mixed flowers, mixed floral suite. So really, really fun, and I really enjoyed making it. So if you want to get the PDF, you'll be able to click on the link in the video comments to grab that one. And if, just to quickly run through you can get the butterflies that I used on this one, plus a load of other products, only until the end of February. So don't miss out on your celebration. The other thing you can do is get on the joining offer during celebration. So at the moment you can join for $169 if you're in Australia, and you can get a free exclusive stamp set plus 2 sets of the Stamping Right markers, which is an additional $162 in freebies. So you already get $66 in free stuff when you join, because you get to choose $235 of product for $169. So on top of that, you're getting the free stamp set and the 2 free Stamping Right markers, plus you get free shipping. If you don't want the markers or the stamp set, you can just opt for option 2, which means that you'll get an extra $51 in product of your choice. So that's another option, but that ends at the end of the month. I'd love to have you on my team. I've had a lovely member join my team already and take advantage of this offer. And yeah, come and join us. The other thing is we've got 2 brand new creativity kits available, the heirloom arrangements, I think it is, and the So Much to Celebrate kit. I do have the heirloom arrangements on its way, and who knows, I might create with it live. We'll see how I go, because I've got a very busy few months ahead of me. Other than that, if you didn't catch it, that's the Global Creative Project tutorial that you can purchase from my tutorial store on my website, or you can get it free with an order this month. And that's my host code. So I think that was about all I have for this week. Otherwise, I will see you next week. So I've got a lot going on this weekend, so that's why I was pre-recorded. I've got some exciting news, but I can't share it yet because, you know, everything's all in the pipeline. So we'll see how we go. Have a lovely weekend wherever you are, and be sure to hit like and subscribe. I would love to hear from you. Say hello in the comments, and I will catch you all next week. Bye.